How's everybody doing today? We got Marge in the house saying, hey, what's up to everybody? Day 14, people. Well, did you have a good Sunday fun day yesterday? I hope you did. I hope you got a little wild and crazy. Hope you got out there and maybe made some deviled eggs or cupcakes or something fun, okay? A big fat tomahawk steak maybe. That's what I did. Little birthday boy, he got all happy about that. You should have seen his eyes. They lit up the size of a saucer, I tell you. It's pretty funny to watch him get all shocked about that. Of course, I brought out my steak first and some of the steak for the other fellows, and they were just regular ribeyes. And then I brought out the big tomahawk. It was good to see. It was good to see. Well, how you doing today? How's everything going? Have you checked in with yourself? I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but you got to check the dipstick on your oil. Okay, people? How's that internal locus of control, the eye wall of your hurricane that you're pushing through the ocean of your life? All right? Are you making your own way, or are you being blown by somebody else's hurricane? Yeah, we don't want that. Is your fire stoked? Are you nice and excited? Are you pumped? Now check this out. I just had this drop off like literally 2 minutes before I started the video. A whole bunch of new pack of stickers. How about that? New pack of stickers. And what we got on the sticker, the big booty Latinas, they can stay, people. They can stay. That's a pretty funny little Alex Stein sticker right there. Love that. That's hilarious. That just gets me all worked up when the sticker comes out good. You know what I mean? Nothing like putting it together and hoping and praying that the printer does it right, and giving them instructions, and then have them show up and then being all mad. You don't want that. You want to be excited. You want to stoke that fire. You want to be happy. So that's what we are. We're happy. Now, you keeping that critical eye locked in the hole? You controlling those impulse controls? You know, you getting them, you pushing them back, you controlling them, you being disciplined with your impulse control. That's really important. There ain't no sense in stoking a fire if the critical eye is just going to come and throw a whole bunch of water on it. You know what I mean? You don't want that, people. You're fighting against yourself in that case. Don't waste that energy. Put all that energy into stoking that fire and getting down the road, okay? How's that schedule? Is it nice and lined up? We want it lined up, people. Now, we had a question. And somebody asked a question about residual emotion. Well, they didn't say it quite like that, but they asked a question about residual emotion and how it clouds everything when they come into contact with certain things. Say, for example, you were an artist or something like that, and you like to draw certain things, and then that something business-wise related to that art went really bad, right? And then you're associated with that trauma because that trauma happened, okay? So every time you go back to draw now, you just get angry and upset, all right? And you've been out of shape, and you find that everything you're drawing now is just angry and upset, and you want to get back in touch with that, the good, the happy, the joyful. But you find you just can't get in the zone because every time you try to get in the zone, it pushes you in this area where you get angry, frustrated, and upset, and then all you do is pour out angry, frustrated, and upset. So the question came in, how do I change that? How do I get away from the angry, frustrated, upset, or the hurt, lonely, abandoned, or whatever it was? Well, the good thing is that emotions are easy to change, okay? The hardest thing to change is no emotion to some emotion. So emotion is volumetric, meaning there has to be an amount of emotion. And the best thing you can do is have a high amount of emotion. Because then if you master how to change that emotion, like colors in a paint tube, you can change it red, purple, blue, orange, angry, happy, sad, whatever. All that emotion runs together, and you can change it through your mind, through being disciplined, into happiness, sadness, whatever. It's what you choose to indulge, and then you also choose to stay disciplined and keep out with your mind, okay? So one way to choose is to create an emotional target. An emotional target is, say you want to be happy. You go in there and you start drawing, you want to be happy. Well, make sure you focus on only things of your memories or experiences that were happy, and be disciplined to keep out the other things that are trying to barge in, okay? The other ideas or memories or beliefs that are trying to barge into your mind and change the emotion within you. Because if you step back and observe, you can see that your emotion is a lot like watercolor paint. your emotion is the water, okay? And the paint is what changes that emotion to whatever type of emotion you want. And you can remove the paint from the water, but the emotion still stays there, and then add different colors of paint to that water in order to change what emotional status that you have, okay? Now, residual emotion is normally because of a trauma that you've experienced somewhere in your past, okay? And you can't just try to ignore that trauma, okay, people? Because if you just ignore it, it's just gonna stay down in there, and it's gonna start to grow, and then it's gonna start to, filter like a color filter, and it's gonna influence everything that you do. And at some point, it's gonna come out as maladaptive behaviors. What are maladaptive behaviors? Well, it's kind of like you're gonna do something wrong so you can fulfill that desire, that emotion. When if you were just mature about it, you could fulfill it in a healthy way, okay? Now, in order to get at this belief, you have to wade through all your emotion and then find the belief that's creating this pain and trauma and all that stuff. That's usually a result of trauma. And you have to re-examine that belief and then change it, okay? Most of the time, there are some lies that were in the assumptions of that belief. And that's usually where they all hide at. Because usually when you look at the belief, it's straightforward. But then the underlying aspects of the assumptions of that belief are where the wrong point of view or the lie that you've believed exist. And you have to reassess those assumptions. And generally, those assumptions were created when you were a child. And that's, normal. But as an adult, we have to reassess those assumptions and then update them, change them, so that it no longer causes this torrent of emotion to come out of nowhere. And then we're sideswiped or blindsided with it. You know what I mean? Now you got to pick up that splinter of that thought, assess those assumptions, and then change them. Update them, like I said. You have to go step by step and change them until you find the belief that you were actually believing that wasn't true. Okay? After that, you've done that, you have to process all of that residual emotion that lies like a giant pool within your heart. How do you do that? Well, you do it through physical activity. Go ride a bike. Go do a workout. Go for a surf. Go for a walk. Go garden. Go do something physical and tactile. And that will process through all of your emotions. Hell, if you need to take a cry, go take a shower. Okay? And do it until you're done. Schedule it each day until you're done. Until when you get in the shower, you're like, well, I don't need to cry no more. I'm good. And you'll know you've processed through all that emotion when you can speak about it or think about it without all that emotion just bubbling up and overwhelming you. Okay? And that's important. It's important to understand this because you're going to have to do it at every different point of your life. Okay? Now, a good example is if you lost a parent as a child and you think back all the time and you have this deep sense of abandonment. Well, as a child, you're going to think that because that's what it feels like to you. But as an adult, you have to go back and reassess that belief and think, well, they didn't really want to leave me. Cancer didn't give them no choice. They got taken off this earth. They would have stayed if they could. They tried everything to stay. Or if the person just disappeared because maybe they were a crackhead, you have to understand that they were impacted by trauma greater than you, and they were disfigured and destroyed as a child themselves. And then forgive them for that, for having you as a child, and putting you in such a bad place. And you understand that, and then as a parent yourself, you move on and want to give the best life to your child. That's how it works. That's how you reshape those beliefs and readjust those points of views of the relationship so that you can move on. And then what you have to do after you've changed the belief, after you've processed the trauma, there's one more thing you have to do. You have to be disciplined because that critical eye is going to want to come back and put you in a comfortable behavior position. Something that you've done, a rut of behavior that you've done your entire life. that critical eye is going to want to come and put you right back in there because it feels good. It's going to want to put you in there so that you can wallow in that emotion, and then you can supplicate yourself, and so that you can get that, whatever it is emotionally that you feel entitled to or justified to, in order to rage against whomever because it's not your fault, you're the victim, blah, 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 blah. But guess what? You're exchanging that temporary enjoyment of emotion for slavery. Because you're a slave now. You're a slave to that emotion. You're a slave to the critical eye. You're a slave to those lies. And you're going to be, in that aspect of your life, a coward that's controlled. You're going to be reactionary. Remember how we talked about that internal locus of control? Well, this just fucking destroys it. It blows it away. And now you're going to be tossed back and forth by the waves of other people. That they're going to control you. And you're not going to be happy. Because you refuse to let go of that familiar behavior, of that victimhood, of that wallowing. And you have no more power in your life. It's not good, and it destroys the life of your children. It destroys relationships that you want. It destroys any hope that you have fulfillment so that you can lay in your bed and nurse yourself by sucking on the thumb emotionally of what happened to you when you were a child. It's over with. It's done. Why should that condemn you to destroy your adulthood too? So rise up. You know, there's nothing uncommon to man which another man or woman hasn't overcome. You're not unique. Somebody else has already solved this problem. Somebody else has already championed through this mountain. Somebody else has already went on to success from a worse situation than you have. Think about that. That'll help you readjust it. That'll help you readjust that. So that's one way that you can move past those residual emotions and that negative association that you had with trauma through different things in your life. And that's what we're talking about here, because that's what artwork does. Artwork holds up a mirror to us in our mind and reflects to us how organized our minds is and how organized our thoughts are. And then we have to change it so that we can go forward, be successful, and be happy, okay? And be impactful with our artwork. I know it sounds a little bit, some people would say woo-woo, but this is really the internal plumbing of your emotional being, okay? We want the greatest volume of emotion to come through you, to come through the inner pipes of who you are as a person, so that you can command the biggest amount of power, so that you can wield the most amount of influence in your family, in your life, in your sphere. That's why they call it a sphere of influence, people. Come on now. You got that, right? So think about that, okay, today. Now, we're going to move on to the artwork part. Well, before we get to that, I want to say, hey, just dropped that video, that interview with Dr. Till, and wasn't that a good one, man? That guy could play the music, the guitar, he can sing, fucking amazing. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Then we got, of course, the one with Ryan Harkness, and that was great. That guy, he is just a pocket, just emotional dynamo right there. Just, he can start an emotional, passionate fire out of nothing, I tell you. In the pouring rain, that guy will start a fire. So that's incredible. And then that one with Johnny Rocket, go watch that. How he became a professional writer. That was incredible. And of course, I'm working on something for Johnny right now, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But go watch those. I want to do those interviews so that you guys can be encouraged, so that you can know that it's possible. Like I said, there is nothing uncommon that another person hasn't already gone over, gone under, gone through, been successful at. That's what this is all about. That's what this channel is all about. Creativity, elevating your lifestyle, okay? Unlocking your creativity, unlocking your happiness, unlocking your success, all right? So today, I want to talk about what we're going to do with watercolor, okay? Now, I want you to go ahead and go out throughout your house and find yourself an object that's either reflective or translucent. You got what I'm saying? Now, I'm doing this image right here for Johnny Rocket. Okay? It's a cover. but I had to draw and paint this reflective apple up here. Can you see it? Let's see if I can move it closer. Can you see it? That reflective apple up there. So I want you to go ahead and grab something reflective like an apple, or maybe you have like I don't know, a chrome something, or grab something translucent. And of course I got my buddy over here, Mr. Patron. Okay, you got the glass bottle with the water in it. Okay, so grab either one or two of those objects. You could fill up a glass of water even, and just put it down on the desk in front of you. And I want you to have a go at painting it. Okay, you can grab an apple, shine it up real good, or something else that's reflective, or grab something translucent and give it a shot. Okay, now I want you to struggle a little bit with this one, and then we'll talk about how to do it tomorrow. How about that? Okay, people, be happy, get a hold of yourself, control your destiny, control the eye wall of your hurricane, be a hurricane, rage on them, and be happy. Let's get out.